Hello and welcome to Tuesday Talks with Craig. It's 12 o'clock and it's time for Tuesday Talks. I am standing out in front of our church facility here, and it's a fairly nice fall day here in Okt.06, Alberta. We've still got some leaves on the tree, which is nice, and the weather's been pretty warm here, which is good. And I'm outside because I actually wanted to show you there's a few cars in the parking lot. And I don't know if you'll be able to see, but beyond the parking lot is the highway that comes into Okotoks. And you can probably hear the sound of some cars out there. You can see a few cars going by. And yeah, I just wanted to show you that there are a lot of cars that go by this place. I have never sat and counted how many cars go by, but in a typical day I would guess that there's hundreds, if not maybe even 1,000 or over 1,000 vehicles that drive by our church facility. And it was just kind of a reminder to me that we are a people on the move. And just speaking of that, maybe I'll just walk a little bit away from the traffic so we don't get too much noise. But we are a people on the move, and whether it's cars driving by the church, if you were to drive into Calgary, you'd see lots of vehicles driving around on a typical day. And if you think of children, when newborns become toddlers and begin to learn to walk, we are a people on the move from a very early age. I remember when my girls first started walking, it kind of was a game changer as a parent. You all of a sudden have to be paying attention to a lot more things around the house. And once the girls could walk, it was pretty soon they could start running and they could move pretty fast. And that's kind of the way it works, right? As we grow up, we never stop moving. One of the realities of COVID is that maybe over the past 6 months, our routines have changed a bit. Maybe things have slowed down, I don't know. For some, it's sped up. But our typical speed of life has maybe looked different over the last number of months. Nevertheless, we are typically a people on the move. And if you were to ask people, what are they doing today? What are they doing this week? There's usually different activities and things that kind of keep us busy or keep us on the move. Over the last few weeks, I've been talking about next steps with Jesus. In the form of invitations from him, invitations to spend time with him, invitations to follow him, invitations to believe in him, invitation to serve with him. We've talked about a number of different invitations from Jesus. And today I want to talk about the invitation to go with him. As people on the move, people on the go, Jesus invites us to go on purpose and to go with him. When he gave his last words to the disciples, they're recorded in the book of Matthew as Jesus saying, "Go and make disciples." And some people have suggested that a better translation of that verse might be, "As you are going, make disciples." Jesus wants us to go on purpose. He wants us to be a people on the move on purpose. And the purpose he has in mind is for us to be disciple makers. If we've become a disciple of Jesus, if we are a follower of Jesus, over the past few weeks, as we've been reminded, as I've talked about different invitations from Jesus, it's all really about following him, spending time with him, learning from him, believing in him, serving like him. We want to follow him, which basically is the description of a disciple, someone who follows Jesus. And as a follower of Jesus, he invites us to go with him on purpose and make disciples of the people around us. Another way of talking about this is I've talked about up, in, and out. How as followers of Jesus we are to live lives in that upward direction of our relationship with God, in the relationship with other believers, and out as we reach out to the people around us who are far from God or don't know God. And that's really the description of a disciple, somebody who lives an up, in, and out kind of life. So Jesus invites us to go with him and to make disciples. Another way of looking at this is John chapter 20, in verse 21, Jesus gives kind of a similar kind of commission to his disciples. But he says to them, "As the Father has sent me, so I am sending you." And again, these were some of his last words to his disciples. "As the Father has sent me, so I am sending you." And then he did something a little strange. He breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit." And it's a reminder to us that as we go with Jesus, or as we are sent out by Jesus, we're not alone. In Matthew 28, he said, after that instruction to go and make disciples, he says, "And I will be with you always to the very end of the age." Jesus will be with us by his indwelling Spirit living in us. So when he breathed on his disciples in John chapter 20, and he said, "Receive the Holy Spirit," again, it was a promise of his presence, that as we go, as we are on the move, we are not alone. He is with us. And so as we go and make disciples, or as we are sent by Jesus, he's sending us and he's going with us. So a couple questions I want to ask. The first is, where has Jesus sent you? And I'm not asking for an answer like you've been sent to Africa, although maybe you have. But where has Jesus sent you? For me, he's sent me here to Okt.06. He's sent me to live in the neighborhood of Cimarron. He's sent me to dwell in a place and a space where there are people who reside around me. And so I live in a house with my family. He sent me to my family. I live in a house on a street. He sent me to my street and to my neighbors. I work here at the church. He sent me to a people who belong to this church. He sent me to this community where I play soccer and I rub shoulders with people, or I go to coffee shops or stores. Those are the places where Jesus has sent me. Where has Jesus sent you? And who are some of the people in your life where Jesus has sent you? Those are the people that Jesus is inviting you to go with him and make disciples out of. Now that might sound like a daunting task, to go and make disciples, but really, if you are a follower of Jesus, it's about living your life in front of other people so that they might find it interesting and they might have the interest of following Jesus themselves. And so making a disciple really is about following Jesus, following him to the people around you, going with him to those people, and living your life in front of them, being an example, pointing out the ways that Jesus has impacted your life so that others are drawn to him as well. Last week I talked about the idea of remaining in Jesus or abiding in him, and that language comes out of John 15, which another sort of illustration or metaphor there is the illustration of the vine and the branches. Jesus says he is the vine and we are the branches. We are to remain connected to him, and it's out of our connection to Jesus that we bear fruit. So I just want to remind you and remind us that as we go with Jesus, as we're sent with Jesus, we are to remain in him or abide in him, so that the fruit of making disciples will be a work that's produced by him. Our strength comes from our connection with him. So we need to remain in him, we need to abide in him as we go with him, as we're sent with him. So as I sign off today on this Tuesday talk, just want to encourage you to consider this next step with Jesus, to go with him on mission, to make disciples, to live on purpose, that as you are a person on the move, that you would be on the move with a purpose of making disciples. And in the words of Jesus, who said, "As the Father has sent me, so I am sending you," I want to encourage you that you are being sent out by Jesus and you are not alone. He's breathed upon each and every one of you. You have his Holy Spirit dwelling within you, and it's through his indwelling presence that our lives can bear fruit for him. So I encourage you to go with him, to live on purpose with him and be sent by him, to go and make disciples for him and with him. And may you just experience more and more of Jesus as you take these next steps with him. So thanks for joining me today. We'll see you again next week for the next Tuesday talk. Have a great day and a great week.